You're listening to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast, where we empower women of faith to identify, acknowledge, and accept their doubts and limits and beliefs in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. It's your girl Felicia Wallace. As always, welcome to all of our new listeners, and for the continued listeners, thank you all so much for continuing to show up every single week. It is appreciated. It does not go unnoticed. You guys, y'all, I told y'all last week, it's because of you all that I reached 20,000, and y'all know from the beginning of the year, my goal is to hit 50,000 downloads. So as long as y'all keep listening, keep sharing, keep reposting, liking, all of that, just keep listening. Tell your friends, tell everybody, like they need to be listening and tuned into the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast so we can reach that 50,000 downloads. So today, this week's wins were pretty simple. I really did celebrate. Actually, let me take that back. My village showed up for me, and they truly celebrated me. I don't know, I might have been like messing with my hair, or I don't know, chilling or something. And so my husband is like, Bun, you need to come downstairs. So I go downstairs, and I'm like, go to the door, and so they're like, I don't know what this is, because they had just dropped it off at the door and like got in the car. So it was like a genuine surprise, right? So I'm looking, I'm like, what? And so once I see it, I can hear my cousin saying it's for her 100th episode. I was like, oh, they so sweet. And it was just so thoughtful, because I, even when I thought about saying that I was going to celebrate, like I never thought to do anything more than just do nothing for the day, right? It was like maybe we had a bottle of Bel Air. I was like, might pop a bottle of Bel Air, something like that. But I just was so grateful for it. It was 100 of everything. They had given me some balloons, and they given me some words of encouragement, which I actually started to put into practice, right? So what I did was I was like, you know what, I am going to, which prompted me to end up making like an affirmation board for myself. I have done, vision boards, and I think those are great because there's some things that I have put on there that I manifested for myself, and I think it's a great thing to be able to see the visuals. But for me in this season, it's the saying the words out loud for me that I have to like really, really push myself, because like I said, this is my journey too. Like slaying self-doubt is not just it's just not something that I'm saying. It's literally my journey. So I take the words of encouragement that they've given me, and I look at one every single day, and then I read everything that's on my affirmation board, and it really just it jump starts my day. Like I feel like, okay, you're doing this, but also reading their affirmations like makes you feel seen, and it's a good feeling. And I don't normally get all like gooey on the inside, but it definitely makes me feel gooey. Last Friday, I also, this is not a plug, but I attended the Blog Her Health and Wellness Conference. I think it's like a webinar. And they had a couple of different people who were on there who talked about a few things, and anything from we had a lady on there talked about the COVID vaccine. They had somebody who was on talking about, Tatiana Ali was on talking about the healthcare system in regards to mothers and just maternity, and how things just go so sideways for us. And even just to put a plug right there, like for like hearing her story and hearing some other people's story, I just was in that moment, I was grateful that I didn't have a horror story for either one of my kids, because there's so many people who don't make it just through a simple, like I've had quite a few surgeries. I would definitely say that pregnancy and delivering a baby should be the easiest. Okay. It, because our bodies are built to do that. And the fact that people don't pay attention to us, don't listen to what we say. It definitely gave me some, tools for myself as far as like even just showing up in my regular doctor's appointments. Like I'm a person who's always saying like, oh, I have a high pain tolerance, and it was just like, don't say that, because people tend to think that you say you have a high pain tolerance, then when you say you in pain, they like, but is it really, but also even for yourself, like if something hurts, it hurts, like don't try to put it off. And so that part was really good. They talked about like just cold and flu season, stress and sleeping, and how all of that is connected with each other, and why you should make sure that you are getting proper rest and getting enough sleep and getting the right amount of sleep. And it was just really good for me to just kind of hear those things and just be a part of it, because it was really really good. They did talked about mindfulness, and again, kind of like affirmations. So at the beginning of the year, everybody is really into like wellness and motivating, and so it was definitely something I was glad to be a part of, and I was glad that I just took the time to listen. On top of the fact, so I think I mentioned to you all that I purchased a bike on like Amazon, and I started using the Peloton app. And so that's been something that has been very interesting for me, because I was doing it initially. Like, I know why I did it. Well, one, because my cardiologist told me to use the bike instead of like getting a treadmill. Why, I don't know. He just said it would be less stress on me. Well, I do know, because he said it'd be less stress on my heart. But I one of the things that I've been doing is like, I've been like realizing that I like enjoy doing it. So like riding, right? So as I was watching the webinar, like I just got on the bike and I just rode for, it was 2 hours. So I rode for an hour. I didn't like, pull up the, what's the intensity, or the resistance, that's the word, I'm sorry. I didn't do any like major resistance. I just pedaled, and that was it. I find myself doing that often, like just watching TV, or even when I get into like a funk, or I am like, my brain is like, okay, you've been sitting here for too long, get up and do something. I'll just go and pedal on the bike. And so I'm happy, because I looked at my little my app from my activity, and the joint says that I've been doing it every day. So I have some goals for myself personally, and so this has been helpful to just like not make it seem like, oh, I gotta exercise or anything like that. Like, I just been intentional about like, okay, let me just do it. It's right here. I see it every day. I'm gonna just do it. Um, so that's been good for me. The announcements for this week are every week for the month of every Wednesday for the month of February, I will be on Clubhouse. I did one this past Wednesday. It went really well. Initially, I was nervous because of the topic, which is the same topic we'll talk about today, but just how your self doubt shows up in your relationship with God. And I was nervous because I was like, ah, man, you just never know what people think or what people are going to say. But it was a very very good conversation, and a lot of people resonated with it, and I was happy, because in one, like I tell y'all all the time, when you have these conversations and you're not by yourself, that just makes things even better, right? And so every Wednesday, if you are on Clubhouse, you can find me there at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, we just having conversations about how self doubt shows up in your relationships. I think, over the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about identifying your self doubt and what that looks like for you, and how it shows up in your daily life, how it shows up in, just different situations. And I think breaking down relationships and why, breaking down how they show up in different relationships will show you, like, maybe you don't realize that it's coming off in a certain type of way to other people. You may be taking your own insecurities and putting them in relationships and not really realizing it. And I know that I've done that probably in all of my relationships, whether the other person knows it or not. I know that I have shown up in that way. And so I'm just excited about the conversation, because I feel like this is what I said on Wednesday was like, I was like, I feel like I'm being a disruptor and talking about self-doubt, because I feel like it's something that I tell you all the time that we don't necessarily talk about with our groups of friends, or it's just not a conversation, because I think some people think of it as weakness, and I'm trying to make it be like, that ain't it, sis. Like, it is what it is, right? And we're gonna talk about it. And when we doing it, it makes you feel powerful when you realize, like, oh, I just slayed myself out. Yeah. yes. Remember, because I told you it's an action. All right. So last week we talked about how self doubt affects your relationships, and we got some feedback from that. And it was, people were able to see how it has affected their relationships. And it was definitely it was an interesting topic. I told y'all, people was like, oh, wait a minute, like this is deep. And I'm like, I know. So this week got even deeper, right? And so this week was, how does self-doubt show up in your relationship with God? And I told you all that I'm being specific about these questions, because if you don't realize how it's showing up, how are you to know again what you are slaying? And so we don't realize that the relationships that mean the most to us are sometimes the ones that we are sabotaging because of our self-doubt. And so I wanted to, I thought about, maybe I wouldn't. And I said, the Lord, like the Lord did not put me in this situation to be meek or to be silent or to just, do surface level stuff. Like if we gonna do the work, we gonna do the work. So I came out with a punch off the break, right? So I had somebody on Instagram who said that self-doubt kept them from believing that God heard them or saw them as valuable as others. They felt that they were unworthy and could and oh, she says, I could believe and pray for everyone else, but not myself. Oh, y'all trying to read this in my brain. And I was like, yes, that part, that part right there, right? Sometimes, so for me, sometimes self-doubt shows up in my relationship with God, and it really shows up as distrust, right? And so remember last week I was talking about, if I don't believe what it is that you're saying in these relationships, I don't, it doesn't feel genuine to me. And so the crazy part is about this whole conversation is that I am clear that God is all knowing, all doing, all powerful. I know that He has showed up in situations in my life that I did not ask for. I know that He showed up in situations that, for real, it was I had nothing to do with. Nobody had anything to do with it. I know it was Him. And so, was what makes this question just so even more deeper is that if you are a believer, God show up. Like there's no doubt in your mind. You've seen it happen. But then you still doubt him, right? You still have these moments where, because you still don't feel worthy of whether it is he's called you to do something, whether he's giving you the responsibility of being a wife, a mother, a friend, being in relationship with people, whatever the case may be. You second guess him, like, me, you want me to do that? And the reality is that it's within us, right? Because if you're telling yourself that, God has called me to do these things. So like for me, like I know God has called me to do this, and I know that He wants me to have these conversations, do different things. But when the opportunities come up for me to talk about it, then I'm second guessing Him, right? And I'm like, are you sure? You sure this is what you want me to do? You pick me. You don't want nobody else to do it. And it's kind of like, I started to think about it, like it's like it. I mean, it's disrespectful, not only to him, well, especially to him, right? Because if you believe him for everything else, why would we not believe that he called us to do the things that he's calling us to do, right? We believe him when he heals our bodies, and or he gets us out of situations that we don't want to be in anymore, when he find a way for you to pay that bill that you ain't know how you was going to pay that bill, when you get the job that you've been praying for and you really really wanted it. And so the thing to me was that it's the things that I really 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 wanted. Those are the things that I believe God for. Those are the things that I was like, oh, I know He can do it. I'm a believer. I know He can do it. God can do anything. It's when He's pushing me outside of my comfort zone is when I'm like, what, me, you want me to do that? Like, this is you sure that we going down this right road? I don't know if this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it come, for me, it came up as like, all right, if I can trust him I trust him for the things that I want, right? Because I want the outcome. Why can't I trust him for the things that he wants for me? Because in the end, for me, what it kind of broke down is that I, because I've already told y'all, I be having child-like control issues, right? And so for me, I broke it down as that when I'm asking for something of him, right, and um I want that thing because I know what the outcome is going to be. If I'm paying for, if I need a bill paid, there was times where I was like, Lord, I really need to get, this bill taken care of, or especially, before I was married and when it was just me and my son, like trying to figure out how I was going to make it through every single week. Like, Lord, I don't, and random things would come up and I'd be like, oh, thank you, God. Like this bill didn't hit, or this, having like, I wanted it so bad because I knew what the outcome was going to be, right? And so that thing I could pray on every single time, and I could trust him for, and I didn't doubt him, and I you know didn't disbelieve it, but also I was putting action behind it because I was also praying, and I was listening to the word, and I was listening to my worship music and doing devotionals because I was being diligent in those things because I was believing for something, right? On the flip side, when God called me to be an entrepreneur and to walk in, do this slaying self-doubt journey and to walk in this, I did not believe that this is something he wanted me to do. And so instead of me asking him, like, okay, God, I believe you for this. One, I couldn't see the end. So I was like, I don't even know what you want me to do. What does this even look like? And he wasn't giving me anything. And so I was like, well, for me, that's when the control showed up. And I was like, well, if you can't tell me what it looked like, then I got to figure it out on my own. And I don't even know, like what the crap, right? And so then what I did is that I like, then I, so, subconsciously, I kind of distanced myself. I wasn't praying as much. I wasn't worshiping as much. I wasn't listening to the word. I wasn't doing devotionals. It was like because I did not believe him, and because I was unsure of what he was saying. And my insecurity was that you don't really want me. You want somebody else, and it should be somebody else. That's what I was telling him before. I just was like, you be over there and I'm gonna stay right here. Right. And what that did was is that it disrupted our relationship because I was no longer connected to him anymore because I was so worried about how things would look for me. I was so worried about what it would look like, what are people going to say? Is anybody going to listen? And it wasn't until I really just was like, okay, this is not about you. This is not about you. This is what God is calling you to do. This is your assignment, and you just have to trust him. Was when I slowly started to let those things go. It didn't happen all at once. For me, it slowly started to be like, okay, if you believed him for other things and you trusted him for other things, trust that he knows what he's doing. So it was like little things. And the Lord says, test me, right? So there was things I would be like, okay, if this is what you want me to do, I need to see X, Y, and Z, right? I need to see these things show up. And then it would happen. I'd be like, okay, well, then I guess this is the direction he wants me to go in. I even still now I pray and I say, okay, God, what is the next thing that you need me to do? That's one of the things that I have intentionally start doing because I need to see the end, right? And I know that about myself, but this I'm not going to see all the steps. I'm not going to see every single thing that he wants me to do. And so I had to slow down my thoughts. I had to slow down um what was kind of innate in me to be like, okay, let me come on, that anxiety thing. And I had to then just say, okay, God, what is the next thing that you want me to do? Please let it be plain, let it be clear, because I can't, I just don't operate like that. I need it to be plain and clear. Like I need you to show up and show me, and make it so that I understand. Like it don't need to be nobody else. It just needs to be me. I need to understand what it is that you're saying. If I don't get it, I'm gonna miss it. That is literally how I tell him. If you don't make it clear for me, I'm gonna miss it. I promise you that. And every single time, the very next day, it is something that is very clear to me that I'm like, okay, that is the next thing that I'm supposed to do. That is the next thing that I'm supposed to do. And so for me, knowing that that's how self-doubt shows up in my relationship with God is what prompted me to now be able to slow down myself and slow down my anxiety and slow down my worry and all of those things. And I would just ask you the same question, like, how does it show up in your relationship with God? Like, for me, I feel like that all of us have it at some point in time. I'm not saying it's as deep as mine, but I'm saying that there are certain times where you do self-doubt has shown up. And even if it only showed up once, you need to know what that thing is so that the next time he calls you to do something greater, it doesn't show up again. We talk about procrastination, we talk about overwhelm, we talk about, just thinking that he doesn't see you, not feeling worthy, all of those things. Like, all of those things are ways that, or things that how self-doubt shows up. Even if God calls you to do something and you wait a year on it, that's you doubting yourself. Even he told you to do something and you didn't do it, that is you doubting yourself, right? So I think that, again, like I said, just having these conversations, these are my experiences. I'd love to be able to hear from y'all. So if it's something that you like to share, you can definitely DM me or send me an email at info@FeliciaWallace.com. If you like to share your, like how it shows up in your relationship with God. And I just say, like I said, just ask yourself the question, just so that because self-doubt does not go away, right? It doesn't go away. And where I'm trying to get you to is not to be like, it's gone completely, but I'm trying to get you to the point that you just know what it looks like so that you can act accordingly when it shows up, and you can still do the work. You can still show up for yourself. You can still show up for your family, still show up for your relationships, all of those things, even in the midst of feeling doubtful about yourself. In some cases, especially when it's not warranted. But so that was all I had for today. Remember, today we just talked about how self-doubt shows up in your relationship with God. For me, like I said, it came up as feeling insecure and unworthy, and that he didn't really call me. And what the practical steps that I took is just kind of slowing down my thought process, because I know how my anxiety can be, and just asking God, what's the next thing that you want me to do? And once I did that, for me, it was helpful. It allowed me not to go into overwhelm, because overwhelm then leads me to paralyzation. And so, again, I just encourage you to ask yourself that question. If you want to send me a message, you can. If not, make sure you keep it close to you so that y'all know, I already told y'all March 1st, we will be launching the group coaching. Go to the website, www.feliciawallace.com, to join the wait list. If you have questions about coaching or anything, you can book an intro call with me. Make sure that you're signed up to the newsletter so that you get the information. Because I told y'all the group coaching is going to be limited. I told y'all before, sis knows her capacity. So it will not be, hundreds of people in that joint. Can't do that. That will send me into overwhelm and self-doubt. Y'all don't want to see that. So it will be, the capacity will be limited. So definitely join, even if you just want to hear what it's like, you want to know what it's about, because not knowing, you may not think that you need it. You may not, but just signing up to just see, like, what's she talking about, right? You know how we do. We just be like, let me just see. I ain't saying that I really need the help, but if I do, let me just see if it's something that she's talking about, right? So just put your name down. I ain't asking you for nothing, but just your email and your name, so that you can just get the information to really help you be the better version of yourself. That's literally all God has called me to do, is to help you to identify these things so that you can do the next thing that he wants you to do. How about that? All right, y'all. Until next week, see ya. We end every episode with the serenity prayer, and it goes as follows. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slaying Self-Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.